Welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. This week we continued to look after some of the older aspects of the farm. I mentioned last week that there were a couple of things that still needed to be done. One of those was to fix the old shed and also to look at trying to prop up the dairy shed. So we did tackle the shed this week, and that was the shed that used to be my Nana and Pa's carport and Pa's workshop, where he used to have his tools and things like that. And one whole wall had just fallen away. It just was in disrepair, and the big old doors that Pa made himself had come off the hinges. Some of the wood had rotted, and it was just looking quite disheveled and unloved. When we did our cleanup, we found some tin and some old roofing supplies that we had earmarked to use for fixing up the shed. So we put some panels along one side, and that now has closed in and made where we are keeping the tractor much more weatherproof. We also used some of the just regular corrugated iron to cover our wall panel next to the big double doors. And I think that that's made a really rustic look and is covering over some of the old panels that have fallen apart. The thing we wanted to really preserve was the doors that Pa made. They look really beautiful and rustic. Some of the paint's come off, and you can see he made them by hand. So what we had to do was to add some additional hinges and also just screw back in the hinges that were there to get the weight of the door off the one or two screws that were still hanging in place. There was a panel at the bottom which had rotted through, so we had to sort of reinforce that so that we could actually put the hinge back on. And we managed to get it hanging really well. And now we have these beautiful grand doors hanging properly on the old shed. We need to probably put a coat of paint on the tin just to sort of blend it all back into the green of that shed, but we're going to keep the doors the way they are because we think that they look really cool. The veggie patch is coming along really well. We've already eaten some of the spinach from the garden as well as some coriander. The peas are now flowering quite a lot and are climbing really well, so we should get quite a good harvest from them. The only thing that's really struggling is the cabbage. They have been infested by caterpillars and are basically being eaten down to just stems. I guess they might have to be the sacrificial plant for the veggie patch. If everything's going to focus on and eat those, it distracts from the rest of the plants. Everything else seems to be doing really, really well. So I'm just going to leave them in the way they are and let the caterpillars and moths enjoy it. And then maybe we don't plant those again. They're obviously attracting the moths and caterpillars, and there's nothing that is deterring them. So I might need to look at some companion planting that might help to get rid of those pests, or I just have to call it and just not worry about the fact that it's been eaten. We're still waiting on confirmation of a date for the power connection for the shed, but I'm starting to feel like it really is all coming together. The tanks are getting really full and more rain is forecast for this weekend, so we should have pretty much full tanks very, very shortly. And I've been starting to look at the configuration of the rest of my furniture, where I'm going to sit my couches and my supply area, and just how it's all going to come together as a space for dyeing but also for crafting as well. So in anticipation that perhaps very soon I'll be able to have my first dye session in there, I did some winding up of some undyed skeins this week, and I've put those aside ready so that as soon as I have power, I can just go and try everything out. I'm really excited about that. And then I sort of looked at what I had sitting in my stock so that I could start to get some ideas of what colours I might perhaps want to be the first colours that I dye in my new studio. And I popped a few single skeins for sale in my shop just to sort of clear out a little bit of the old stock, the last of dye batches, things like that, so that when I'm ready to go, I can start to get some fresh full dye batches into the shop. There should still be a few items on sale if you want to go take a look. I'll pop a link below in the description. As part of the moving the furniture around, I've sort of sat back in some spots in the shed and sort of seen how it feels to sit and craft there, and I'm loving the outlook that I'm getting from where I've placed the seats. We've got a real beautifully framed view of the bush and of the paddocks, and I'm excited that I hopefully will be able to share that with other people. In order to make it that little bit more cozy so that it's not on a concrete floor, I've been looking at flooring options, and I've decided to go with some carpet squares. So the next phase will be to install those into the area for seating and probably over where my desk is too, just to make it a little bit warmer and to reduce some of the echo and noise within the space. And then I still need to paint some of the furniture. I think the dining table needs a third coat. It's not quite as lilac purple as I would like, and I need to start on the older, more vintage furniture, which I'm a little bit nervous about because I really don't want to wreck them. So I'm going to be very, very careful, but I think that they need a little bit of love to bring them up to sort of fit in with the rest of what I'm going for, and to make sure that they last for a lot longer as well. I actually haven't had a lot of crafting time this week. I did start and finish the Bali hat for Seb, and he has been wearing it almost non-stop since I gave it to him, which is a really lovely compliment. So I'm glad that I rushed to get it done for him so that he can enjoy it this winter. Once I finished the hat, I decided that I needed to cast on a new knitting project. Yes, I know I still have those other whips, but they can just sit for a little while, you know. I've got my mojo back and I want to do different things. So what I did is I wound up my latest hand spun into a ball, and I cast on a project with that. And I'm making a honey cowl. I've made one before out of a commercial yarn, but I thought that it would make a really nice hand spun project because it uses slip stitches, so it actually creates some texture without being too over the top, and hopefully it's going to highlight the differences in the colour as it goes through. So it's cast on 220 stitches, knitting in the round. It's just a 4-stitch repeat, and it should make a double cowl, and I'm really liking how it's looking so far. So it takes a while to do around, but that's okay. I should get some more of that done next week, and I can show you the progress then. And of course I have still been working on the granny stripe blanket, and that's one of the things that I was sort of working on a little bit in the sun while I was looking at the different aspects of the seating arrangements over in the shed. And I have done maybe 3 or 4 stripes, a lot less than I had done the week before when I was really gung-ho about it. But it is making some significant progress. I have added in the second ball of the light blue, and I think since I showed you, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and just halfway through that top purple one. So still going really well, but still a long way to go before it will be a full-size blanket. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.